This has been a long time coming, and now that I have finally done with my week of mourning my cat, because if you see my previous video, you know that the 4th of July is not a fun time for me. I can't believe it's been 2 years since my cat has died. But now that that's over with, it's time for me to finally tear this game to shreds. And before I do that, just want to let you guys know, you X1 fans, you're the ones that asked for this, because, wow, I've read the comments on a lot of my previous videos, and you're just proving my point. You're just proving my point that you're some of the most pathetic people out there. You just can't accept the fact that somebody likes X7 and thinks it's better than X1. So, before I make this video, I just want to let you guys know that you're the one that asked for this. I never wanted to make this video, but you so desperately wanted me to make this video. It's not even funny. Like, I don't get it. Commenting, this is just proving that hating X1 is a disability. Saying something like that, it's just, you're just asking for a sequel to be made dissing on this game. Like, can you please tell me the mentality of saying, oh, you're not human. If you don't like this game, you're not human. Because that's what some of the comments have been telling you. And, okay, to be fair, it's not all comments, and that's not what's getting to me. It's just the lack of people that agree with me. It's just the lack of comments I've seen agree with me. So, but I'm not going to be petty about it. I'm not going to, go and delete comments. Instead, I'm going to finally do it. I'm going to finally make this video. And as I said before, I'm just still mourning the loss of my cat, but that time's over. Things are going better now. My personal life is improving, so I feel like I can do this. All right, so, and one more thing. I recently opened a Twitch account. It's the same thing, Carcass, but there's a YouTube thing in front of it. So, I'm planning on doing a Mario Party video first. So, after I do the Mario Party video, I might do some more Buster-only runs of the X series, and maybe some other things, because as you can see from the background footage, I'm doing a Buster-only run in X1. Although, we'll get to why that fucking sucks in a bit. But yeah, so, subscribe to my Twitch account to get live commentary of me. Even though I don't use a script, and you can obviously tell that it's that way. But, hey, it'll be fun to interact with an audience live, won't it? Alright, X1. Oof, where to begin? Where to begin? Where to begin with X1? That is the question. I'll tell you what I'll begin with. It's... Sorry if I'm laughing like this. I'm just kind of angry and pissed. So, let me tell you why by telling just a little story. So, once I went on Reddit trying to look for people who agree with me saying that X1 fucking sucks, because for a reason I'll get to soon, it does. But, so, I went on there and I found this comment saying that, this thread saying that X1 was kind of rough. I mean, personally, I would go a little bit more than just saying it was rough, but nonetheless, the thread was about X1 being rough, and I can't remember the thread exactly, but I think at one point they did talk about how stupid it is you have to go to Chill Penguin stage. But the thing I remember about the thread were the comments. And I'm kid you not, some of the comments there were literally, "Granted, go out of the game, you fucking suck, get good, get good, get good." There's a reason that is memed, and that people laugh when people say that. There's a reason people say that is a terrible excuse. Saying, get good, is not a good excuse to saying something. And I agree that with him saying that X1 is rough, because there's no point in getting good at X1. Because, trust me, I've tried to get people to play X7 and saying that it's good. And I bet you. And some of those X1 fans are like, there's no point in trying to play X7. What's the point? It's not good. Meanwhile, I have legitimate excuse saying that X1 is trash. So, sorry if I'm a bit jumbled. I'm just so fucking pissed at the gall of some of these X1 fans. So, let me get to you a good example of why I think X1 is a bit rough, to say lightly. So, Launch Octopus. He's a fucking pussy. Because he is so cheap with his boss fight. He constantly spams out 3 attacks. There's his homing torpedo attack, which is probably the easiest to dodge, but it can caught you at a bad time. And especially if you're going without the dash boots, which we'll get to soon. Then there's his torpedo attack. Not the torpedo attack. The marine... Yeah, the marine torpedo. I think that was what it was in Extreme 2. Whatever. If you're at the wrong position at the wrong time, that is unavoidable. And you have to either get hit at the top and take massive damage, or get sucked in at the bottom and just drain your energy. And once again, because of the optional dash boots, that means you're in a lose-lose situation. And then his most worst attack, the attack that's even worse than that, is the homing piranha attack, which I haven't found a good way to consistently dodge. Period. And that's not getting to his stage. Like, I once watched a video about, like, top worst Mavericks, and in it he was talking about Tornado Tunyon and how his stage was like, oh, you remember when stages used to be like, used to have like things? Meanwhile, that same guy, he put Launch Octopus high on his bests, and I'm just laughing. If you look at this stage, it is a straight line with a couple of mini bosses put here and there. Say what you will about Tornado Tunyon's stage, and while yes, it does have one mini boss, at least there's more than just doing that. You kind of go up, and yes, it is flat. But I'm just finding it funny that Launch Octopus' stage is just as flat and boring as Tornado Tunyon's stage. In some aspects, maybe even slightly worse. And yet, somehow, Launch Octopus gets the credit of having a good stage, while Tornado Tunyon doesn't? I'll admit, Tornado Tunyon's stage is not the best out there, but still, how can one stage with the exact same problem as another get hated, but the other stage get loved? It makes no sense! Oh, and here's another Maverick I dislike, Storm Eagle. He is an even worse example, because in a rematch, if you're walking one specific way and he attacks, it can be unavoidable. You have to pause, buffer constantly in order to find where he's dashing down to. And then, not to mention, there's the screen problem where if he's flapping you to one side and you try to attack, it's just gonna miss because he's on the other side of the screen. Not to mention, his weakness sucks because I like to use charge shot only, and whoever had the bright idea of giving the charged chameleon sting just invisibility is fucking terrible, because that's not even a weapon. That should be like some sort of armor feature or like armor power-up thing, which I can get to soon. But so yeah, which means that if you're doing something like a charge shot only run, which in later X games are fun to do, you could do that, but not there. So yeah, and once again, the fact that the dash boots are optional means that if he decides to flap you to one side, you could potentially get unavoidable deaths. And it's even worse than the remake, which I won't talk about the remake. I'd say it's probably the best way to play it simply because of Vile mode, but even then, I'd rather have Zero than Vile, so yeah. X1 sucks no matter where you do it. And that's just one example. And here's another example of why X1 is complete BS. The intro stage. The intro stage is so boring. Literal walkthrough line. If you look at like a stage chart, it's just a straight line. Other intro stages, not so much. And the boss, oh my fucking god, the boss. Or the lack of boss, I should say. The mini bosses put up more of a challenge. And I don't care about that sequelitis video that fucking Game Grumps did. He has an ego. And I wish he didn't. But yeah. I don't care about that. Because if you want a good example of an intro boss, play X5. X5, not the training section. The training section can be a kind of bit iffy. And Magma Dragoon, okay, I guess I can see it. It's not one of my favorite Mavericks ever. But the Sigma Head battle in X5, that is a good example of a good intro boss fight. Because there's challenge, and it forces you to mind. Because he has two attacks at the beginning of the fights. One where he does two electric balls, and then he dashes at you. And the other where he spews out. And one of them forces you to dash. And also, that's a good way to not get you to hide behind the Sigma Head. Because if you do, he's just going to dash behind you and the ball. But you might want to do that because his other attack, he constantly spews out like a stream of electric balls. And you want to duck down because that's a good way of teaching you that X5 has ducking, which is something the other X, up until that point, the other X games didn't have. So you would duck there. Or you could hide behind him. And then, of course, there's his final attack, which is the laser, which is a culmination because you can either jump up to avoid it, or you can duck down. So it's teaching you those things. But it's kind of random. So you have to use your wits. But it's not super hard. It's just you have to put skill and thought into it, which the other interstage bosses don't, because X2 and X3 are so pitiful that that is no point. X6s can be extremely cheese. I hate X8. So that just leaves X7 and X4's interstage bosses, which X4 only allows you to do jump shots, which isn't that bad with X, but with Zero especially, yeah. Only being able to use like one attack is kind of iffy. So that just leaves X7 as the second best. And I will admit, Mega Scorpio does spend a little too much time in invincibility phases, but besides that, I guess it is. Although I think he is slightly more Axel based. Even still, he's a pretty decent interstage boss, not as good as the Sigma Head, but those are good bosses, and all of them are better than Vile. Vile is an unwinnable boss fight, which fucking sucks. And you know what? The remake that I told you about did it better, because you would actually have to fight him first before getting... Yeah, I know it's a bit cheap that he, like, after you beat him, you get like, hit. But it actually teaches you skill. It teaches you to fight a boss fight. And hey, you're playing X1, so it's a fucking cheap game either way. So yeah, there's the intro stage. And then there's Chill Penguin stage. So, when I first played X1, I went into all the games knowing as much as I could. So I knew to go to Chill Penguin stage. And I already hated the intro stage. So I went to Chill Penguin stage, got to this section right before the light capsule, and it was so fucking tedious. You have to like do good pixel perfect jumps just to get up there. Mind you, this was like technically the first X game I did, and right after this I played X6 and I had no problems doing pixel perfect jumps there. X1 just sucks that much, but whatever. I had trouble doing pixel perfect jumps, then I got the light capsule, then I went to Chill Penguin, who is definitely the easiest boss in the game, and I just fucking rage quitted there because he was so just tedious with X1's controls and limitations and lives. But the worst part was the dash boots, because dashing in X1 sucks. Because the dashing is not as good as the dashing in X4 through X7. Yeah, I know, parts do make you dash even more insanely fast in X5 through X7, but still, it focuses a lot more on holding down the dash button and doing dash jumps. Meanwhile, in X8 and the SNES X games, they focus more on rapidly tapping the dash button, which is not as fun as holding down the dash button, because holding it down gives you more time to attack, which works better with the more complicated boss fights of the later X games minus X8. But because of X1's dashing, it fucking sucks, because you just do a little spew dash and do it again, and there's no point. And like, I guess you could do dash jumps, but it's not as fun as the dash jumps in the later X games, and it's just not as fun, and it feels clumsy, and especially doing wall jumps. okay, wall jumps themselves, I will give X1 this. The wall jumps could be worse. It could be like Super Metroid, which, why do I need to like learn a guide how to do wall jumps? Yeah, now I can like constantly wall jump again and again like in X1, but still, like, why make it so needlessly like complicated and not intuitive? I prefer the idea of simple controls that are easy to master. However, because it's easy to master means that you have a harder like level design. Simple tight controls to go with simple tight fights, whatever. But yeah, so but the actual wall dashing is fucking painful because you have to like tap dash and jump at the same time, which is like not as easy as it sounds. And I prefer with the later X games where if you just hold down the dash button, it does it. And while yes, I'm a little bit sad that X7 does go back to the whole SNES version of dashing, unlike X4 through X6, where if you just hold the dash button, you can automatically dash jump when you do it. The good news is X7 doesn't focus that much on wall jumping, so it doesn't come that much into play. So there, for those people that are complaining that wall jumps don't make that much thing in X7, that actually works to its favor, but whatever. So I wish the wall jumping was as good. Oh, and then of course there's a whole iceless wall jumping thing, which is so fucking stupid. Like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, it must be hard to program wall jumping back then. And I get it, it's a good speedrun technique if you know how to, like, align yourself at the right point of the wall. But still, like, I'd rather have it the other way around. And then there's lives. So, one of the biggest reasons why I love the later X games is because lives don't matter. Okay, yeah, they do kind of matter. In X4 they do, but X5 through X7, they don't really. In fact, in some instances, you want less lives because then it'll be easier to quit the stage if you haven't beat it. And I just find it kind of ironic that those are the games that have the extra life tanks, because, like, why would you want that? If anything, I want less lives, so that way it's easier for me to quit the stage if I really just can't beat the stage with my current setup, which only really applies to X6, but whatever. So, yeah, there's that. But, however, the lives in the first 3 X games, and especially X8, which I don't even want to talk about X8, because X8, if it weren't for X1, X8 would be my least favorite game. But, X game, I should say. But yeah, so, lives are terrible. I fucking hate lives. They're basically the microtransactions before microtransactions. And if people are just gonna say that it's a limitation of the time, and I'm just gonna say, why are you proving modern games are better than older games? Just saying it's a limitation of the time just proves the fact that you're saying modern games are better because they don't have these limitations. And, you know, I hate microtransactions. That's why I never want to play a game with in-app purchases. Never, because I'm a completionist. I hate in-app purchases. I think they should be banned. Any game that you have to spend cash on after you buy it is BS. Like, I'm already kind of iffy on DLC, because that could be abused, but at the very least, I could see DLC, like, especially something like the Octo expansion, or the recent one for Elden Ring, which, by the way, my brother is literally gonna pay me to play Elden Ring, so I might stream that at some point. So, to my brother John, I'll probably play Elden Ring soon, but you gotta get me cash, alright? You promise you'll pay me to play Elden Ring, I'll do that, but that's off topic. But yeah, so the DLC like those I can understand. I still don't like their DLC. I wish they would automatically update with the game, because you already bought the game, so if the DLC came with it. And there's definitely DLCs like that, but still, I can understand DLCs, but games with just in-app purchases for stupid things like microtransactions or in-game currencies that you can translate with actual real-life cash, fucking stupid, awful, bad, 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 bad. And you know what? Lives are basically the microtransactions of older games, because think about it. Arcades. The arcades I grew up with are definitely different than the arcades of like the 20th century, but still. So yeah, lives are just microtransactions. And I hate microtransactions, so I hate lives. So please, for any new Mega Man game, any new action platformer like the Mega Man franchise, get rid of lives, ditch them. I'd rather have permanent checkpoints. Like, I'd rather deal with really hard bullshit if it means I get a permanent checkpoint that I cannot lose no matter what. And yes, that is one of the big reasons why I hate X1. But with a lot of other things, because that's also why I don't like X2 and X3. But X1 is especially bad because of that and other reasons, including the dash boots. Okay, now I'm getting to the dash boots. The dash boots are one of the stupidest things in the Mega Man franchise, period. Like, okay, with X7, yeah, I'm not a fan of having to unlock X, but you know what? It works. They actually bothered to make the game around the fact that you have to unlock X, because Axel is just a bootleg X, which, yeah, fucking sucks, but you do get some of the benefits of X. He has the Buster, and he can roll, which is invincible, which X can't do, and he can hover, which is kind of like the ultimate armor. So, while I don't like Axel in X7, I feel like X8, that was one of the very few things X8 did better than X7. I still would rather have the Axel Zero dynamic in X7 than the optional ability to dash, because X1 was definitely was made with dashing in mind. So many of the boss fights are so much easier with dashing. So many levels are easier with dashing, which would be fine if they give it to you at the very beginning of the game, because the previous Mega Man games before X had sliding, and sliding was introduced at the very beginning of the game. And granted, they didn't have an intro stage, unless you're gonna count the PC game, which I've never played and I don't frankly think of playing, but whatever. They gave you sliding at the very beginning of the game, and because of that, they were playable. Because, wow, oh my god, the bosses are made with sliding in mind. The stages are, some of the stages are literally impossible to do without sliding, because they have these little enclosed sections that you must slide under, but it's teaching you to do that. Hell, even Rush. I'm not a fan of how Rush was handled, especially in Mega Man 3, but he was given to at the very beginning of the game, so while doing Buster only runs there can be kind of annoying, because you have to use a thing that, mind you, has limited energy, but is at the very beginning of the game and is optional, and it doesn't affect things like boss fights, so whatever. But dashing is, if you go to the options, it's literally right there. It's not even a secret. They're letting you know dashing is in this game. So say if you're a kid in 1993, you boot up X, thinking, oh wow, look at this cool armor. Oh, what's that? What's the lack of armor? Okay, well, let's go to the options, because who the fuck thinks of dashing with the A button? Oh, wait, there's this dashing thing? Oh, wait, there's this option things that haven't appeared in any Mega Man game until that point? Oh, cool. Oh, I can switch the buttons around. Cool. Oh, dashing. Oh, let's do that. Start up. Whoa, an intro stage. Oh, and also a lack of story, which the other X games do. X2 and X3 barely have a plot, but they at least try, but X1 doesn't. Oh, wow. No plot, I'm just put into the stage. Oh, well, let me try dashing. Wait, I'm pressing a button, nothing's happening. Is this game bugged? Huh, wait, I'm walking, and I'm shooting, and I'm jumping, so how am I doing those things without dashing? That makes no sense. Why would they put this thing in if I can't dash? Oh, and then you go the entire game, and let's say, oh, Chill Penguin seems kind of threatening. Let's actually do the harder bosses first, because he seems so easy. Why don't we just do the harder ones to get them out of the way? You go there, and then you learn if he's like your last one. Oh, this is where the dashing is. Okay, wait! I waited all this time to get this, all through these bullshit boss fights, all the stages to get dashing. And yes, I know that in Chameleon Sting stage, there's a ride armor, which could allow you to dash, but that could also be your second to last stage. And once again, the ride armor is optional. If you time your jump just right, you can avoid it. So, yeah, you could go through the entire game right until the Sigma stages without learning how to dash, and it is a painful experience. So many bosses fucking suck. I already talked about Octopus, I already talked about Storm Eagle. Boomer Quanger, haha, okay Boomer, all the people who play these games are Boomer, even though most of them are millennials, whatever, I'm Gen Z, so fuck that, but whatever. So, Boomer Quanger, he's either really annoying, or with the dash boots, he's really boring, because he only has two attacks. He either dashes and uses his boomerang or anything, or he teleports. That's it. He spams both attacks over and over and over. There's no variety. The X series boss fights are supposed to be more complex than the classic series. Meanwhile, Gemini Man, who's one of my favorites, robot masters of all time, he has like a second phase. And so does Iceman technically. Some of the robot masters before X1 were more complicated. And in fact, in order to get the complicated phases of some of the boss fights, you actually have to use specific weapons. Most notably, Boomerang Cutter, but also Electric Spark for Armadillo. But yeah, so he's really boring, and without the dash boots, he's really frustrating because you just have to wall jump and pray that he doesn't get to the behind. So you just kind of jump like a little bit of a maniac in order to get from one side to the other to attack. There's Spark Mandrill. I will say, one of the very few things about X1 that I like is Spark Mandrill's theme. Spark Mandrill's theme, along with the 3 ending themes, are the only parts of X1 that I really do enjoy. Those 4 songs. I guess also Sigma Stage 2 and Flame Mammoth Stage themes are also pretty good. But I feel like Spark Mandrill's theme and the 3 ending themes are the only songs that are really good, that would probably make my top 20 list. And like, Spark Mandrill will probably make my top 10 favorite Maverick themes. But still, that's like the only 4 songs in X1 that I would legitimately put in my favorite songs of all Mega Man songs of all time. So Spark Mandrill's theme is good. His stage, not so much. His stage can be annoying because it's half of it's in dark, which isn't that bad. And it's either flashing dark, or there's that beginning section, which can be kind of annoying with the electric thing. And the mini boss, which I used to hate more, but now that I've gotten good, it's not the worst thing in the world. So, hey, X1 fans, I'm starting to get good to the point that some of the bosses, some of the mini bosses, are not as frustrating as I was before. But I still don't like them and for the other ones from the other games. So, yeah, there's that. So I fight them. It's not the most funnest thing in the world, but I can do it. And especially with going to Storm Eagle stage first. Because that is a fucking stupid idea. Going to other stages, yeah, it seems cool. Going to other stages affecting other stages. But I'm pretty sure we've seen from X6 that maybe it's not the greatest idea. It could lead to some cool things, but over half the time it's not good. With X6 Nightmare Mechanic, it's actually kind of simple to understand. Okay, so X6's Nightmare Mechanic is really easy. Once you beat a Maverick stage, that changes 2 stages. Well, okay, except for Blizzard Wolfing, which only changes 1, and Metal Shark Player changes 3. But besides those 2 Mavericks, every other Maverick changes 2 stages. And that stage effect stays permanent until you beat the other Maverick that changes that. So, I know I'm having a hard time explaining things, but that's just because I need to take speaking classes. Even though I'm a pretty good public speaker, I'm not the greatest at speaking online, so I just need to improve that. So, sorry if I'm not getting my thoughts up correctly, but I'm trying. But it's actually super easy. But it's kind of bullshit because some of the minor effects can make stages, at best, slightly more tedious, and at worst, just fucking... Ugh! And then with X3, that is awful because if you're trying to do a 100% no backtracking thing, those kind of hinder the effect because you can probably go to like Gravity Beetle stage first and get those things if you didn't have to go to Blast Hornet stage if you did that, so that way you can get that. And yeah, it'd still not be possible, but hey, at least you would have that, but whatever. So there's that. And then X1, you would have to go to Chill Penguin stage in order to change Flame Mammoth stage, which honestly the vast majority of X1 players probably would go to Chill Penguin stage first because they've wasted their lives playing this game more than once. I know I've wasted my life playing this game way more than once, but yeah, so they know to go to Chill Penguin stage first, which means they'll never see the lava effect, and they'll go to the Storm Eagle stage first before going to Spark Mandrills to make the stage easier. But now that rant about stage changing effects, oh yeah, there's also Sting Chameleon, which we'll get to soon, but that doesn't change that much, but whatever. Spark Mandrill is fucking annoying because he has like 3 or 4 attacks, and you have to just pray and hold down the charge button to make sure he doesn't do his punch attack, because if he does his punch attack, you gotta use that charge shot on him, otherwise you're gonna take damage. And you just want him to crawl around, which can be kind of hard to deal, his crawling attack, and then his spark thing. It just leads to a frustrating boss. And you know what the worst part is? He's not even the worst boss in this game. He's not even the worst Maverick. Like, somehow Spark Mandrill's not the worst, and he's so fucking tedious, and he would definitely make my top 10 worst Maverick lists, except there's more Mavericks in X1 that are worse. Like Sting Chameleon, which used to be my least favorite Maverick in X1, but now isn't. His stage is probably the best one, because there's actual variety in the things, although his mini-boss kind of sucks. But whatever. Oh, and you need water in order to actually get the heart tank. Like, I'm pretty sure there's that. But his boss fight is not good. So, his main attack is to rain spikes from the ceiling, which you have to spam the pause button, certainly. I'm pretty sure in the background footage you can see what I had to do there. I had to keep spamming. And then his other attacks go invisible, and he either does the three-way shot or his tongue attack. Now, I hate this boss less than what I did more, because I'm starting to get kind of better at it. So, there's that, but I still would not put him anywhere near my favorites. He'd still be in my bottom 20 least favorite Mavericks, because at best, he's just boring. Well, okay, he's not boring, he's just tedious. Like, he's not interesting. He's tedious and boring. So, there's that. Armored Armadillo is one of the better Mavericks. His stage is good because you don't get to play it. You just get to sit there. I seen a comment saying Armored Armadillo stage is the best because you get to ride around. I think a better way of saying Armored Armadillo stage is the best because you don't get to play it. You just get to sit there and watch for like a good 40% of the stage, which is good because I hate X1. The less I play, the more happier I be. But yeah, so there's that. And then there's a Hadouken, which we'll get to soon. But Armored Armadillo's boss fight, besides like the charge weapons and obviously electric spark, all your buster shots do 1 damage. So it kind of forces you to use charge shots to get him to spam that, which I will say it's definitely a more interesting Maverick. So I'll give X1 that. He's more interesting in the fact that you kind of have to change your strategy to forcing yourself to charge shot him just to get him to do his guard attack, so that way you can actually do that. But the problem is the boss just becomes kind of a bit of a button mash, so that intrigue just becomes kind of annoying. And that's sad that that's one of the better bosses in this game. That if I had to put my favorite Mavericks, that would be my second Maverick that I tolerate in X1. Because at the very least, I have to change my strategy a bit, and he's not super bullshit. He's just kind of annoying because you have to get carpal tunnel syndrome from the amount of spamming buttons. And the Maverick I tolerate the most in X1 is Flame Mammoth. I said I like his stage theme, and his stage is okay. His boss fight is probably the most fair in the game, which is funny because one of the people that I watched that said that was the worst Maverick in this game, and it's like, are you kidding me? He's probably the best or the most tolerable Maverick because he actually is kind of fair. You have to like wait for him to jump, but you can time your jumps. I used to hide around in the corner just waiting to get cheap shots, but I figured out it's better to kind of learn to do that. So I'm actually trying to use my brain in order to fight this boss. And hey, it's kind of fair because dashing is not as required for this boss as it is for the others. Granted, I don't get to see his flame attack or his oil attack that much, but at the very least, I feel like I have a fair chance with that boss fight. It doesn't feel super bullshit. And those are the Mavericks. I don't even want to talk about the Sigma stages because the Sigma stages are fucking awful. Okay, so there's Vile. Vile fucking sucks. Alright? The section before Vile is kind of boring and like the platforming section right before Vile with the things can be really annoying because you don't have the dashes, so one wrong thing and you'll fall to the pit, and they have these annoying fly guys that are just oof. But Vile's boss fight, first of all, there's the stupid impossible thing, which I hate, but there's actual boss fight, which is complete BS because granted, you have to use a cheat and you have to like use a password in order to get to him without dashing. But the fact that you can get to this guy without dashing, because dashing is not a core thing that you start the game with, means that it's okay for me to rant about this guy being BS. Because you can't dash, and this guy was made with dashing in mind, but because it's not a core option, as I said, means that you theoretically use a password to do that. I already said this before, but I just need to reiterate that it's bullshit that this guy can just dash straight at you at full speed, and you have like no good way of just avoiding it. You just kind of have to jump stupidly around, and then there's his immobilizing attack, which means you're gonna force to take a hit, and all of his damage is high. So you do that over and over, and it's just BS. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is once you beat him, you find Zero, who's dying, which, let's be real here, his death scene is nowhere near as emotional as the one in X5, because X5 actually has effort and is in a good console. I'm pretty sure the first ever truly good generation was the 5th, and even then the 6th is better. And I feel like the 7th generation onwards are the actual good consoles. If it weren't for microtransactions, but whatever. If it weren't for microtransactions, every console from the 7th generation onward would be amazing. So, get rid of microtransactions, those will be awesome, but whatever. So, the fact that those consoles actually have the ability to be good means that you actually see a good and heartwarming death scene. Okay, maybe not heartwarming, that's not the word to use, but whatever. So he dies, and you get the arm part, which, why? The only reason you get the arm part is to help with the Sigma boss fight, which is what we'll get to later. So, you have to refight the Mavericks. Oh, and there's also that vertical section, which X5 did much better, because it's just super fucking tedious to defeat the shield guys, and like you have to get pixel perfect with the jumps, whatever. So then you have to fight the Mavericks, but instead of doing the teleport, you have to do it one by one, which some people say is good. I say it's bad, because with the other way around, you get to strategize how you want to do it. Here, not so much. So you do that. I'm kind of hurrying up because I don't want to run out of time, but whatever. So you have to hurry up with that. So you have to like do it in a specific order, which fucking sucks because you start off with Boomer Kuwanger, which I said I didn't like, but whatever. So you do that. Then you go to Bow Spider, which is probably the best boss in this game because it actually requires you to use your brain. The problem is you kind of spend your time spamming it, but whatever. So you beat him. Then you go to Sigma Stage 2, which is probably the best of them. Minus a couple BS jumps, it's good. And then the two bosses, Chill Penguin is easy. And I hate Storm Eagle, but you already know why. And Storm Eagle's even worse there because, yeah, so, whatever. So, Rangabanga is another okay-ish boss. It is bullshit, but not as bullshit. Then you get to the third stage, where it's just the rest of the Mavericks, which fucking suck, because you're supposed to go in a specific order, and you can't do it any other way. You're just supposed to do it that way. And then the boss is, I want to hate it, but it's not the worst thing ever. But, like, it's kind of easily cheesable, but his electric ball attack is fucking stupid. And then we get to the worst part of the game. Even worse than everything else, the final stage. Okay, I don't know if you can see it already. You might have to skip the video, or maybe it's been already playing this entire time. I don't know, editing. But if you see the background footage, I'm doing a Buster-only run in the background footage. And yes, I did have to use a cheat in order to get there without the arm parts because I just wanted to demonstrate. And also, another thing, I'm also using an infinite lives cheat because fuck doing that without lives, or if you want a reason. And I'll talk a little bit later about it, but whatever. So by this point, I was like, okay, to just show you how bullshit this guy is, let me just show you all the cheats. So there's Velugar, which is fucking stupid. Many of my runs end there because I take damage there, and you understand why. The flamethrower attack from that guy makes that guy BS. And then there's Sigma, which has a similar damage value set to Armored Armadillo, who's probably the easiest one out there because it's just kind of boring. And then Wolf Sigma. I hate Wolf Sigma. If you see in the background footage, I'm using cheats. I'm using infinite life, using infinite ammo, using all that, infinite health, because fuck that guy. So, you want to know why? First of all, you need there's only two ways to damage this guy. Either with the fully charged stuff from the arm parts, or from rolling shield. And I feel that's bullshit that you need the rolling armor thing and the charge shot thing. I need that. Second of all, this guy hurts my ears. Like, Flame Hynard doesn't hurt my ears, this guy does. Third of all, the Hadouken doesn't work on him, so there's no good way of getting past him. You're just forced to sit there shooting that. Oh yeah, and getting the Hadouken is BS because you have to play the stage 5 times, which who in their right mind would know that the first time playing this game? But whatever, you have to do that, and then if you get hit, you lose it. So, yeah, the Hadouken sucks. It's not as good as the other ones. Sorry if I'm getting a little bit mad, but I think I need to end it here. If you want, I could make another follow-up video talking more why, but I'm kind of running out of time for the background footage. So, let me just end it off here. I hate X1, and this game deserves to burn to the ground. There, you happy? I said it. I made the funny quote. I said burn to the ground because apparently every single X7 fan has to quote that guy. Whatever, I said it, alright? There, you happy? I said burn to the ground, okay? And whatever, X1 deserves to burn to the ground. And I know I use an infinite lives cheat in the background footage, but if you want, I could stream this game live, doing the Sigma stages Buster only, but that's only if you want to see me rant about this game even more. So, I'll end it off here. I wish I could get more into it, but this is... whatever. I hate this game. This is Carcass signing out. I know it's kind of anticlimactic how this ended, but I'm out of time for background footage and everything, so... sorry!